My mom always said she loved us equally, but when she handed my $4 million company, yes, the one I built from scratch, to my older sister simply because she has kids, something inside me snapped. I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I just smiled, walked away, and let them celebrate their little victory. But here's what my mom didn't know. My sister had no idea how to run a company, and I wasn't going to save her. Not this time. 1 month later, my phone rang. Mom was crying, trembling. Please, save your sister. She's not okay. And that's when everything changed. Stay with us. This story will leave you stunned. Before we start, hit like, share, and subscribe. And drop in the comments where you're watching from right now. People like to assume success happens overnight, but mine didn't. It happened in the cracks of exhaustion, between college lectures, double shifts, and the kind of late nights where the world is silent except for the sound of your own heartbeat trying to convince you not to give up. I started the company when I was 21, not because I had a dream, but because I needed money. Real money. Pay off student loans before you're 80 money. I was juggling classes in the morning, working at a bookstore in the afternoon, and waiting tables at night. Sleep wasn't a schedule. It was a rumor. The idea came from a problem everyone ignored: small businesses drowning in outdated systems. I didn't have investors or mentors, just a beat-up laptop, a cracked phone, and a Wi-Fi signal that worked only if you sat near the window. I taught myself everything: coding, management, marketing, between microwave noodles and spilled coffee. My first clients were skeptical. A girl in an oversized hoodie offering digital solutions sounded like a scam. But I delivered. I always delivered. And slowly, one job turned into three, three into 12, 12 into an actual business. By graduation, I had a tiny rented office with peeling paint, a printer that jammed if you breathed too close to it, and 2 part-time assistants who believed in me more than my own family ever did. But when the revenue started climbing, when the numbers crossed 6 figures, then 7, suddenly everyone cared. Everyone had opinions. Everyone wanted to be part of something they never helped build, especially my family. My mom's praise grew only when others praised me. My sister smiled a little too hard when I mentioned contracts or growth, and I felt a shift, like they were watching, waiting, not happy for me, but waiting for their share. Growing up, my mother had a habit she never admitted to, but everyone could see. She treated my sister like a glass trophy and treated me like a wrench: useful, sturdy, expected to fix everything without complaint. My sister, Alina, was the golden child. She had kids early, which instantly elevated her to sainthood in my mom's eyes. Every holiday, every dinner, every conversation somehow turned into, "Alina has so much responsibility. Alina needs support. Alina can't do it alone." Meanwhile, because I didn't have kids, I apparently didn't need anything. Not help, not attention, not fairness. When my sister messed up, Mom called her overwhelmed. When I succeeded, Mom called me lucky. It didn't matter that I worked twice as hard. It didn't matter that I built my life from the ground up without leaning on anyone. Mom saw me as the strong one, the one who would always be fine. And being the strong one meant I was expected to carry myself, and sometimes carry everyone else too. Birthdays? Alina got surprise parties. I got, "Oh shoot, we forgot, let's get takeout." Achievements? Alina got framed photos on the wall. I got, "Well, don't get cocky." For years, I brushed it off. I told myself she didn't mean it. I told myself every family had its imbalances. But deep down, I felt it. The quiet, constant message that my value depended on how much I could endure, not how much I mattered. So when my company started growing, my mom's attention wasn't admiration. It was calculation. Suddenly, she called more. Suddenly, she wanted to understand. Suddenly, she started comparing me to my sister more often. Not to lift me up, but to remind me where she thought I belonged. As second place. The day everything changed didn't start like a disaster. It started quietly, too quietly. I woke to a text from my mom that simply said, "Family meeting at 6. Important." My mom never called meetings unless someone was pregnant, dying, or in trouble with the IRS. So naturally, I assumed Alina was having another kid or another crisis. When I arrived at my mom's house, everyone was already seated. Mom at the head of the dining table, Alina beside her, wearing a smug smile like she'd been upgraded to royalty. Even her kids were unusually quiet, glued to tablets in the living room. Mom folded her hands, cleared her throat, and gave me a tight smile. "Sweetheart, we have some wonderful news." I didn't sit. Something felt off. "What news?" I asked. That's when Alina leaned back in her chair with the confidence of someone who already knew the ending of the movie. Mom continued, "You know your company has grown so much, and it's a lot for one person, especially someone without a family." There it was, the opening jab. I frowned. "Mom, what are you trying to say?" She exhaled dramatically, as if she were the victim. "I've decided," she said, voice trembling with fake emotion, "to transfer the company leadership to Alina. She has kids. She needs the stability. You'll understand. You're independent." For a full 5 seconds, the room fell silent. Then Alina reached over and placed her hand on Mom's, acting like she'd just been crowned queen. "Don't worry," she chirped. "I'll take good care of it." I stared at them in disbelief. "My company?" I repeated. Mom nodded proudly. "Yes, it's what's fair. Alina has real responsibilities." I almost laughed. Real responsibilities? Like leaving her kids with Mom every weekend? Like maxing out credit cards? Like quitting jobs every 3 months because the boss was rude? I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I didn't even ask why she thought she had the right to make this decision. I simply looked at my mother, really looked, and realized something painful. She never saw my work. She only saw my usefulness. So I smiled. A slow, calm smile. And I walked out. Walking out of my mother's house felt like stepping out of a fog I didn't even realize I'd been living in. Behind me, I could hear their voices, whispering, celebrating, convincing themselves they'd made the responsible choice. But I didn't look back. Not once. Outside, the evening air was cold, sharp, almost cleansing. I stood by my car for a moment, letting the reality settle in. My mother publicly handed away my life's work, and my sister accepted it without hesitation. The old version of me, the one desperate for approval, desperate to prove I belonged in that family, would have begged, argued, cried. But that version was gone. As I sat in my car, engine humming beneath me, a strange calm washed over my chest. Not numbness, not shock. Something colder, cleaner, detachment. Let them think they won. Let them believe they took something from me. They had no idea what they were stepping into, no idea what they were about to break, no idea what it truly meant to run a business built on sweat and sacrifice. Not entitlement. Driving home, I didn't replay the conversation. I didn't rage. I didn't mourn. Instead, I asked myself one question. Is this the moment I finally stop saving them? Because for years, I had been the fixer, the one who bailed them out, cleaned their messes, carried their emergencies. But now I was done. Sometimes the quietest reaction is the loudest warning, and their silence was coming. My sister took control of the company like a kid grabbing the steering wheel of a car she didn't know how to drive. At first, she strutted through the office halls like she owned the universe, heels clicking, hair bouncing, confidence leaking from every pore. Employees tried to smile, but I could see the confusion behind their eyes. They knew something wasn't right. They knew she didn't build this place. And within days, the cracks started showing. The first thing Alina did was fire 3 essential employees, people who'd been with me since year 1, because she thought they didn't respect her authority. In reality, they just asked questions she couldn't answer. Then she approved a $60,000 marketing campaign with a company that had more red flags than a bullfighting parade. The ads were unusable, the contract was binding, and the refund? Non-existent. Within a week, she'd rearranged departments like furniture, moving accounting under HR, putting interns in charge of client deliverables, and giving her friend a managerial position because she had good vibes. Clients began complaining. Deadlines were missed, payments were delayed, but the true disaster came when she tried to negotiate a new vendor deal, a deal I spent months securing. She demanded they cut their price in half or she'd find someone better. So they did find someone better, and they pulled out of the contract completely. That one decision alone cost the company almost $400,000 in projected revenue. Still, she walked around the office posting inspirational quotes on the walls like duct tape could fix a sinking ship. Employees started calling out sick. Investors demanded updates they never received. And payroll, something that had never once been late under my leadership, was suddenly pushed back just a few days. I said nothing. I didn't intervene. I didn't rescue her. For the first time in my life, I let my sister live in the world she created, and that world was collapsing faster than she could pretend to manage. Despite everything falling apart, my mom stood behind my sister like a malfunctioning cheerleader who refused to admit the game was already over. Every time I heard her voice, she sounded the same, overly sweet, painfully blind, and completely convinced that Alina was doing her best. Whenever employees quit, Mom said, "People nowadays don't have loyalty." Whenever a client canceled, Mom muttered, "They probably didn't understand your sister's vision." And when payroll was late twice, she told me, "Running a business is hard. You should be more supportive." Supportive? I nearly choked the first time she said it. Mom had watched me grind for years without a single day off, without ever missing payroll, without making excuses. But now that her favorite was in charge, she defended her like she was a child learning to walk instead of a grown woman breaking a multi-million-dollar company. The funniest part? Mom didn't even understand what the company did. She thought back-end infrastructure meant storing files in a drawer. Still, she lectured me about leadership, but the tone of her calls began to change, slowly at first, a little shakier, a little less confident, a little more desperate. "Your sister seems stressed," she said one night. "Maybe you should offer advice." I didn't. I simply replied, "She has kids. She needs the stability, remember?" Mom didn't like that. She hung up quickly. But deep down, I knew something she didn't. The people who defend chaos eventually drown in it. And my mom was finally starting to taste the water. It happened on a Tuesday night, just past midnight, the kind of hour where only bad news calls. My phone lit up on the nightstand, buzzing violently like it was trying to warn me. When I saw the caller ID, Mom, my stomach tightened. She never called this late. Ever. I answered. "Mom, what's wrong?" All I heard at first was breathing, fast, uneven, panicked. Then her voice cracked open like a fault line. Please pick up your sister. She's not okay." I sat up instantly. "What happened?" "She's crying in the office," Mom sobbed. "The staff left. Investors are threatening lawsuits. People are demanding refunds. Everything is falling apart. She locked herself in the conference room and won't come out." Her voice dropped to a whisper, as if the truth itself terrified her. "She said she can't do this anymore. She said she made a huge mistake." I waited. Let her feel the silence she once gave me. Mom continued, choking on every word. "They say the company only has a few days before shutting down. Bills unpaid, Accounts frozen, clients furious. Sweetheart, please, you have to fix this. There it was. The moment the strong one is finally remembered. Not for love, not for respect, but for usefulness. I took a long breath. Did she call me? I asked. No, she's too ashamed. Mom whispered, but she needs you. We all do. I closed my eyes. For the first time, Mom wasn't defending my sister. She wasn't sugarcoating anything. She sounded afraid, truly afraid. Okay, I said quietly. I'll come. Not to save them, not to be the hero, but because the empire I built was burning. And I wanted to see exactly who lit the match. When I pulled into the company parking lot the next morning, the first thing I noticed was the silence. Not the early morning kind, but the abandoned kind. The kind you hear outside a building that used to be full of life, but now feels like a skeleton. Half the cars were gone, the lobby lights were dim, and the receptionist's desk, once covered with cheerful sticky notes and daily schedules, sat completely empty. I stepped inside, and the smell hit me first. Stale coffee, burnt wires, stress, the scent of a place that had forgotten how to function. Papers littered the floor like someone had tried to organize and simply gave up. The printer flashed an error code I hadn't seen in years, one that meant it hadn't been serviced. In the corner, a dead plant wilted in a pot I personally bought during the first year of operations. My company, my creation, looked like a crime scene. As I walked deeper into the office, I saw 2 interns packing boxes. They froze when they saw me. Is she still in the conference room? I asked. They nodded quickly. Locked herself inside. She hasn't eaten. She keeps crying. We didn't know what to do. I thanked them and headed toward the glass-walled conference room, the one I personally designed so the team would always feel connected. But today, the blinds were closed. The door was locked, and behind it, I could hear my sister's muffled sobs. I knocked gently. Alina, it's me. Silence. Then a shaky voice. Go away. I didn't. I just want to talk. The door clicked, then cracked open an inch. When she finally let me in, I was hit with a tidal wave of reality. Her mascara streaked down her cheeks. Her hair was a tangled mess. Her hands trembled from exhaustion and fear. Everything on the table, contracts, invoices, bank statements, was in chaos. She looked at me like someone drowning who suddenly sees land. I can't do this, she whispered, voice breaking. I ruined everything. Please, please fix this. For a moment, I just watched her. This wasn't the smug queen from the family meeting. This was a person crushed by her own arrogance. And now she wanted me to pick up the pieces. I helped my sister out of the conference room and into my old office. Well, her office now. The leather chair that once held my ambition now held her regret. She sank into it like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I stood across from her, arms crossed, waiting. Mom rushed in minutes later, breathless, hair unbrushed, like she'd aged 10 years overnight. The moment she saw me, her eyes lit up with a desperate kind of hope. Thank God you're here, she gasped. Please, sweetheart, fix this. Fix your sister. Fix the company. Fix? I repeated, calm and cold. You're asking me to fix something I was pushed out of. Something you took from me. Mom flinched at the word took, but I didn't soften. She clasped her hands together. You're stronger. You don't need the company like she does. You're independent. You always figure things out. There it was again. The old narrative, the one that kept me in the role of the family tool, not the family member. I turned to my sister. Alina, did you know the company was this bad? She shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. I thought I could handle it. I thought, since Mom believed in me, her voice cracked. I didn't want to disappoint her. Mom reached for her hand. You didn't disappoint me. Yes, she did, I cut in sharply. And you set her up to fail. Both of you did. Mom's face fell. I just wanted to give her a chance. She has kids. She needs stability. And I don't need anything? I asked quietly. Not respect, not recognition, not the company I built from scratch. Silence filled the room, thick, suffocating. My sister wiped her eyes. Please, I'm begging you, fix this. I can't do it. I don't know how. For the first time, she wasn't arrogant. She wasn't smug. She was broken and honest. But I didn't move, didn't rush in to save her like I always had. I simply looked between them, my mother with her guilt, my sister with her fear, and said the words they least expected. Why should I help? You made your choice. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Mom stared at me like she couldn't understand why I wasn't immediately leaping into savior mode. My sister looked like she was about to disappear into the leather chair. Finally, Mom whispered, Sweetheart, it's your company. You have to take responsibility. I actually laughed. A short, sharp sound. Responsibility? Mom, you fired me from my own company, remember? You handed it over like a casserole dish. Mom's lips trembled, but before she could defend herself again, I reached into my bag and pulled out a thin folder, the same one she never bothered to ask about when she made her big announcement. I set it on the desk. Before we continue, I said softly, you both need to see something. My sister leaned forward, confusion etched across her face. What is that? The truth. I opened the folder. Inside were signed legal documents, neatly organized and time-stamped. Mom paled instantly. What is this? This, I said, tapping the top page, is the original ownership agreement, the one I filed with my attorney years ago, the one stating I am the majority owner. Always have been. My sister blinked, but Mom transferred it to me. No, I corrected. She tried to, but she couldn't. You can't transfer ownership that you don't legally possess, Mom gasped. But the lawyer said, What lawyer, Mom? I snapped. The notary lady from your book club? The one who stamps scrapbooking pages? That's not legally binding. My mother's face turned ghost white. I continued, voice steady. The operating agreement requires unanimous consent from the board, and the board is only me. You had no authority. None. You didn't give Alina power. You gave her a title with zero legal weight. My sister's eyes widened in horror as the realization hit. So, I was never actually the owner? No, I said. You were an acting manager in a position you didn't understand, and every decision you made, every contract you signed, every dollar you spent. I paused, letting the weight settle. It all falls back on me legally. She covered her mouth, shaking. I didn't know, Mom whispered. Oh, God. What have we done? I closed the folder. Exactly what you intended, I said. You just didn't expect the truth to bite back. The moment the truth settled, the room changed. It wasn't just silence anymore. It was panic wearing a thin mask, cracking with every second that passed. My sister stared at the pile of documents like they were a ticking bomb, and in many ways they were. She swallowed hard. If I wasn't the legal owner, then all the mess I made falls under my liability, I finished. Every debt, every breach, every signature. Legally, the company is still tied to me. Mom covered her mouth, eyes wide with horror. What debts? What breaches? Your sister said everything was fine. I raised an eyebrow. She didn't tell you about the overdue payroll, the terminated vendor contract, the missed tax filings, the client refunds she promised but never issued? Each word hit them like a slap. Alina buried her face in her hands. I didn't mean for it to get this bad. I just didn't know how complicated it all was. Complicated didn't even begin to cover it. Inside the company's financials were landmines, penalties, legal notices, employee complaints. She had turned a polished machine into a malfunctioning mess in less than a month. Mom shook her head, voice trembling. I thought you just needed time. I thought new leadership meant new opportunities. No, I said softly. It meant new disasters. My sister finally looked up, tears streaking down her cheeks. I didn't know the damage was this big. Oh, it was big, much bigger than they ever imagined. And the worst part? The consequences hadn't even hit them yet. As the weight of the situation settled over them, my sister crumbled into the chair while my mom paced the room like she could outrun the consequences. Both of them looked at me, not with entitlement this time, not with superiority, but with fear. Real, shaking fear. For the first time in my life, they needed me, and they knew it. Mom stopped pacing and grabbed my hands. Sweetheart, please, just tell us what to do. We'll listen. We'll do anything. Anything. Funny choice of word, considering they'd never listened when it mattered. I pulled my hands away, slowly and deliberately. I'll save the company, I said. Their eyes lit up with relief. But I have conditions. Instant panic flickered across their faces. My sister whispered, What? What kind of conditions? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. First, I said, you sign away any claim, legal, emotional, imaginary, over the company. You will never speak of ownership again. Ever. Alina swallowed hard but nodded. Second, I continued, turning to Mom, you apologize. Not privately, not quietly, publicly, in front of the entire family. You admit what you did. All of it. Mom stiffened like I had slapped her. Publicly, but no negotiations, I said coldly. She closed her mouth. Third, I said, you both agree, on paper, that you will never interfere in business decisions, operations, or leadership. I'm done being micromanaged by people who don't understand the work. My sister wiped her eyes. I'll sign whatever you need, please. I just want to fix this. But I shook my head. No, I'll fix this. You'll do the one thing you refused to do before. Step back. They looked at each other. Two women who had once believed they had all the power in the world. Now, their power depended entirely on my signature. Mom trembled. My sister nodded, and quietly, desperately, they agreed. The conference room, once a place for strategy and growth, now felt like a confessional. My sister sat hunched over the table, pen trembling between her fingers. Mom stood beside her, arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold her guilt together. I placed the documents in front of them, clear, precise, legally binding. For once, I said quietly, I'm asking you both to choose honesty over pride. My sister's breath shook as she scanned the first page. I never wanted to take your company, she whispered. I wanted Mom to be proud of me. I thought if I finally did something big, maybe she'd see me. Something inside me softened. Not enough to undo the damage, but enough to understand it. Mom's eyes filled with tears. I pushed her, she admitted. I kept comparing you two. I didn't realize how much I was hurting both of you. I leaned back in my chair, letting her words settle. I wasn't asking for more love, Mom. Just equal respect. She wiped her face with shaking hands. I'm sorry, she whispered. I truly am. My sister finally picked up the pen. Her voice cracked as she said, if signing this is the only way to fix what I ruined, then I'll do it. She signed the first page, then the next. Each signature felt like a chapter closing. Not triumph, not revenge, just resolution. Mom signed her part too, though her hands trembled with every stroke. After the final signature, she whispered, Thank you for giving us this chance. I gathered the papers and placed them back into the folder. This isn't about punishment, I said softly. This is about boundaries, ones we should have set a long time ago. They nodded, quiet, humbled, defeated, but finally honest. It was done. The next morning, I walked into the office not as the broken daughter they'd once dismissed, not as the forgotten sister they'd underestimated, but as the leader I had always been. The moment the glass doors swung open, the air shifted. Employees looked up from their desks, their eyes widening with something I hadn't seen in weeks. Relief, respect, hope. It hit me then. This place wasn't just a company. It was a living organism built from every sacrifice I made, every sleepless night I endured, every risk I took when no one believed in me. And now it was bleeding out. But I wasn't going to let it die. I called an emergency all-hands meeting. The employees filed into the conference room, shoulders tense, eyes wary. I could see the exhaustion imprinted in their posture, the kind of fatigue that grows when leadership fails you. When the room finally settled, I stood at the front, took a breath, and said, I know the last month has been chaos, but I'm back, and we rebuild from here. The shift was instant, like a collective exhale after weeks of holding their breath. I dove in immediately. First, fire the dead weight. Anyone hired through favoritism, anyone who created bottlenecks, anyone who made the disaster worse, they were done. Second, restructure the departments, accounting back where it belonged. Project managers leading projects, not interns. Client relations run by actual professionals, not family friends. Third, bring back the talent. The 3 employees my sister fired were already at a coffee shop debating whether to leave the industry entirely. I called them one by one and asked them to return, with raises, apologies, and the authority they deserved. Fourth, address the financial bleeding. I locked myself in the office with the CFO for 12 hours straight, combing through every overdue invoice, every breach letter, every panicked email. Together, we built a strategy to stabilize cash flow, negotiate new terms, and put out fires my sister had casually tossed gasoline onto. Fifth, client recovery. I spent 2 days calling every major client personally. No excuses, no spinning, just honesty and a plan. Some were furious, some were disappointed, but all of them respected accountability. And slowly, the tide began to turn. By week 2, we stopped the financial bleeding. By week 3, 2 major clients renewed their contracts. By week 5, revenue stabilized. And by week 6, we were profitable again. The office buzz returned, phones ringing, keyboards tapping, people laughing in the break room. The energy I had missed so much flowed through the building again. One afternoon, as I walked through the halls, an employee stopped me. We're glad you're back, she said softly. It feels safe again. Safe? A word no one had used about this company since I left. I smiled, small, genuine, not out of pride, but out of quiet, steady vindication. When the company finally steadied, when the fires were put out and the doors no longer felt like they were swinging on desperation, my family came to see me. Not with demands this time, not with entitlement, but with sincerity. My sister arrived first. She stood in the doorway of my office like a student waiting outside the principal's office, not scared of punishment, but humbled by reality. Her eyes weren't swollen from crying anymore. They were steady, clear. Thank you, she said, voice barely above a whisper, not for fixing the company, for letting me fall and still helping me stand up after. She admitted she'd been jealous of my independence for years. Jealous of how I built things without needing approval. Jealous of how I walked through life without hiding behind excuses or sympathy. I thought having kids made me the responsible one, she confessed, but you were the one carrying the real weight all along. It wasn't an apology wrapped in guilt or flattery disguised as gratitude. It was real. And for the first time, I believed her. Then came Mom. She sat across from me, hands clasped so tightly her knuckles turned white. I was wrong, she said. No excuses, no rambling, just truth. I thought protecting your sister meant giving her what you earned. I didn't realize I was punishing you for being strong. Her voice trembled. I don't want to lose you. Tell me how to be better. I looked at her, really looked, and saw something I had never seen before. Accountability. The sharp, painful kind that changes people from the inside out. I didn't offer forgiveness instantly. Forgiveness isn't a switch. It's a boundary you build slowly, brick by brick. But I did offer a beginning. We move forward, I told her, with honesty and equality. And we did. The company flourished under my leadership again. My sister built her life with humility instead of pride. My mother learned that favoritism isn't love, it's a wound. As for me, I learned the most powerful truth of all. Being the strong one isn't a burden. Being underestimated, that was my greatest advantage.